everybody. Welcome to tonight's show, guys. We got some breaking news for you. We've just had a new journalist that has come out and exposing Kamala Harris's record pertaining to how she dealt with things in California in terms of locking a lot of people up that shouldn't have been locked up, how she's flip-flopping on a lot of her stances with how she did in California to now. And a lot of people are really upset about this because they're saying that how is she going to do America like she did California, where things just didn't turn out well whatsoever. We even got Joe Rogan, who has come out and is calling out the media for being so fake and flip-flopping on their views for Kamala Harris, where before they said that she didn't do a good job. She literally wasn't even doing anything, but then all of a sudden now she's just this great politician who can do no wrong. And a lot of people are 100% siding with what Joe Rogan says. We've got Dan Bongino, who is releasing some new footage of what happened during the Trump shooting that I'm telling you, everybody, it blows my mind. His take on it, I love his take because he comes from all of this and what he's able to tell us. Also, Trump is now ready to, like he said, compare records with Kamala Harris and himself, which is hilarious to think that Kamala Harris has recently said Trump doesn't care about the border and that he just wants things to just go crazy when she's the one who was the border czar and didn't do anything. And a lot of the polls, and I want to know what you think about, are starting to show Kamala Harris is beating Trump in this presidential race. So you want to definitely check that out. I want to hear your thoughts in the comments section. I don't know if I truly believe them. I don't know. I just want to see. We're going to dig into this together, but I do want to say thank you to everybody that is watching. Thank you to everybody that supports the channel, to all of our subscribers. Those, if you're not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. We want to serve you every day with the top news. Thank you to all of our members of our channel and those that give the super chats and donations. We couldn't do it without you. We love you and thank you. Let's get right into this show. This is great, great news that we want to deliver to you. Check this out.
Joe Rogan destroying the liberal media for working to rewrite Kamala Harris's radical record, kind of what we were just talking about. The podcaster warning that the media's anti-Trump agenda will give Kamala a huge boost to the ballot box.
She's going to win. I feel like we are in this very bizarre time where people are giving in to the in a way that I'd never suspected people would before. And this is one, they just want no Trump, no matter what, and they're willing to gaslight themselves. She's the least popular vice president of all time, and then in a moment in time, all of a sudden she's our solution. She's our hero. Try Googling a negative story on her. You won't find one. I would have thought that Trump getting shot would that's it, election's over. But it's like they memory hold that so quick.
Memory hold it, and he also brought up along with Michael Malice, Dana, that it's very hard to look up and see those pictures of Donald Trump, to see the stories about Donald Trump, that social media is already acting to shadow ban these stories. But he went on to say she could win the election. He didn't. The headline said she will win.
I mean, headlines I always say, read them twice, read the whole article twice, or listen before you comment on the headline, because headlines get you to click. But there's an interesting thing about, the left tried to cancel somebody like a Joe Rogan or an Elon Musk, right? And they are saying, well, we're going to turn this around, and they have huge platforms. Right. Let's just talk about Rogan's for a second. One of the things I think is so interesting about Rogan is his instincts are very good, right? He's got his finger on the pulse of things, and he's like, this is what he's feeling at the moment. There are 95 days left. We saw how quickly, just within 7 to 8 days, we went from the most amazing RNC convention, how could he possibly lose? It's going to be a cakewalk, to Biden 2 days later say, I'm pulling out of the race, and all of a sudden, a week later, we're saying, okay, obviously she's going to win. And I know that there's not a ton of time between now and the election, but I think that he said could win, can win. Yes, she can. Mm-hmm. She could.
100%.
It's not a done deal. If you look at Nate Silver, too, though, these polls are showing as they come in, she's holding her own, but also it's because of that cotton candy messaging. As soon as she's asked about things, that will reset a little bit. And President Trump is starting, like he did last night, to focus on issues people care about energy, the economy, the border, and crime.
And a lot of people are really, really upset with what I'm about to show you because they feel that everything that they're trying to do is being swayed by Google. So check this out. When you type in President Joe Biden into Google search, you have Joe Biden right here. You get down, it says news about Biden prisoner swap. News about Joe Biden and Harris. That's it. If you do the same thing with Donald Trump, you get Donald Trump right here. And then you scroll down, Donald Trump speaks at Journalist Convention. And then right here, news about Joe Biden and Donald Trump. So why are they doing it towards Biden? They're not doing it towards Biden, but they're doing it towards Trump. And what they're talking about is a huge manipulation that's going on in front of everybody's eyes that is trying to sway voters to Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section.
They went on to say, I listened to the whole spot for maybe 15 minutes, and they said they were just astounded how the press is just not acknowledging that she's been a joke for 3.5 years as vice president, and how quickly everything turned. They're noting it, and they don't know if the American people will be as aware as they are, Jesse.
I don't know either. I don't think Rogan knows what's going to happen. No one knows what's going to happen. We thought Trump was waxed after Jan 6, and
Well, he's not
now
saying
it's like
he's
the
voting for
biggest
him, but-
comeback of all time. Right, but you can't predict what's going to happen. Trump's policies are so popular that Joe Biden and Kamala kept them. They kept his trade, his tax cuts. They kept his tariffs. They kept his vaccine. And all the ones they got rid of is why they're in trouble, like
Remain
the
in
border.
Mexico.
Yeah, like all that stuff. People say, oh, well, you know, Trump's personality. He's too brash. He's too bold. It's the brashness and the boldness that makes his policies possible.
Right.
Why do you think Putin didn't go in? He was scared of Trump. How do you think he brought Mexico to the table? He insulted and then flattered Little Rocket Man into a little bit of calm.
Right.
These things are bred into his system. You can't have one and not the other. Look at the no tax on tips. You know how he came up with that? He was at his a casino in Vegas chatting up a waitress.
Right.
That's how he got that idea.
Right.
Space Force, Wall. Kamala doesn't have any ideas. He's got ideas.
And don't tax Social Security, Harold. You must be on some level amazed at the effort to make over Kamala Harris in real time. And now she's never done anything
You
wrong.
know, what I'm really amazed at, Brian, is that how quickly cycles are in politics and how quickly we're able to digest things and move on and process them and move on positively or negatively. You think about President Trump was almost killed. Thank God he wasn't. Our prayers continue to go out for the family who lost a loved one and those who were injured. The convention was unbelievable. I said when I was there, I've never been at a convention quite like this one. And then I think President Trump, I think he missed an opportunity in his speech, and I think things began to shift a little bit. He chose J.D. Vance as his running mate, and people began to talk differently about some things. And obviously, President Biden decided not to run, and this is turning now to a very different race. I think Mr. Rogan is entitled to his opinion. I agree with Jesse. This thing is not over. We're August 1. I think about this day. It means a lot to me because.
Do you love how he didn't even answer the question about the media flip-flopping on Kamala Harris? This is where the Democrats really try to spin things for their own party. But the fact of the matter is even when Joe Rogan calls it out, he has #2 podcast in the entire world and says it makes no sense that people are being gaslighted, and it's like they want to be gaslighted. It's like they don't even care anymore that the media lies blatantly to their face.
28 years ago, I won my first primary for Congress on August 1st, 1996. Anything can happen in the next 2 months, 2.5, 3 months. And I think a lot of things are going to happen. I think what you said about the messaging, I think the judge asked me the question. Forgive me for not answering fully in the last segment, but what is the messaging going to be? I think both of these candidates have to appreciate that we don't care about the past in presidential races. The past is relevant as you talk about how you're going to get us to a higher ground, a better place over the next 4 years. And President Trump, he would do well to talk about what the next 4 years are going to look like, not reminding us what he did 5, 6, 7 years ago, because some people don't remember where they were last night or 2 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago. I don't mean that in a negative.
You're looking at me. Talk more about the country.
What I'm saying is, so you got to the vice president's got to talk more about the next 4 years, and he's got to talk about the next 4 years. Whomever gets to that first and is able to talk about jobs and national security and decreasing prices of food and gas and things that matter most to the American people, how we deal with the border, that's a group that's going to win. But if they want to litigate the past, they're both going to have a struggle here over the next few months. Talk about the future. That's how presidential races are won.
The problem with the past is that it predicts the future for many people. And so people are going to look to Kamala. When she does this 180 on, all of these core fundamental issues, people have to look at the past. They have to say, well, wait a minute, why did she change? And we talked about, her giving interviews and giving reasons. But it's almost as though this memory hole that Joe Rogan talks about, it's not that they're digesting the news so quickly, it's that they're forgetting the news so quickly. It's like on purpose. So, there was this moment after the president was shot that people said, he won. He just won. That's the end of it. And then I go on vacation, and 8 days later, the most unpopular vice president in history is now up in favorability by 8 points, and she's the second coming of I don't know whom, and so scrutiny is almost suspended while we're in this moment of incredible change and this momentary, immediate kind of movement from one issue to the next. I don't know what's going to happen, but she can focus on the future. That's the most important thing for her to do, because you cannot focus on her past. Her past as a DA.
And the thing is that her past is coming to haunt her. We just have it. This is the next video for y'all of somebody who's been studying her, going through her records, and is exposing so much of her records that they say this is what's going to take down Kamala Harris.
Was a disaster, and I'm ready to speak about that at the right time. Her past is something that she should be embarrassed of. Her past 3.5 years in the White House has been a joke. You have to look at this woman and say, is she sober?
We have
during the last 3.5 years. She just laughed her way through it. And so, Joe Rogan came to the right conclusion. We don't know who's going to win. There is no predictability at this minute.
Right. We have very similar builds. People get us confused. I will just say this. For President Trump, he's got to keep calm, because she's going to have momentum with the vice president and the DNC.
Right.
He should just keep calm, recalibrate.
And just focus on, look at our records. Let's look at our records. Let's look at what's happened, because the more and more that time passes by, the more that what I'm about to show you is coming out. That Kamala Harris is getting exposed for all the things that she said in the past that have just been out there. There was even something on X today where she was scolding people because they were saying Merry Christmas. And she said, how dare you say Merry Christmas? We've got illegal immigrant children that are being forced or deported. You shouldn't say Merry Christmas. And everybody's like, wait, calm down. Like, it's Christmas. We're going to say Merry Christmas. This is just crazy what we're seeing. But like they said, a lot of people, for some reason, are just wanting to be gaslit. Check this out.
Gianna Caldwell joins me now. Gianna, do you think Trump was treated fairly at that convention?
Well, let me answer it this way, Stu. I've never seen an interview with Joe Biden where they start off the question and saying, well, Joe Biden, you said if you don't vote for me, you ain't black, to the African-American community. Or you didn't want your kids growing up in a racial jungle. Or the fact that you actually did use the N-word on the House, House of Representatives, on the floor of the House of Representatives. I've never seen that. But that's what happened, and those are the facts. And the fact that they opened up a discussion that way, what else? What kind of response did you expect to get out of Donald Trump when you open up in I would call it a nasty way. It wasn't professional.
Sure. But the big deal is Trump showed up, voluntarily showed up. He knew he was facing a hostile audience, but he answered any and all questions. And I think that's in direct contrast to Kamala Harris.
100%. And it also tells me that this is a person who's serious about the black vote. I mean, we know he's been a cultural figure in the black community for many, many years. Black folks have idolized him. They wanted to be like Donald Trump. And now he's going after their vote in very direct ways on serious issues, like the migrant crisis. I'm here in the city of Chicago. The migrant issue has been a very serious issue. Migrant crime has also been a very serious issue, and has been a drain on the resources here in the city of Chicago, which African Americans have been asking the city of Chicago for resources for decades, and they've been told there's no money, but yet they're spending hundreds of millions of dollars on the migrant crisis. So this is a real issue at play, and we're seeing that Donald Trump has been changing the numbers when it comes to black support for his campaign and his candidacy with Joe Biden, and it's still the case under Kamala Harris.
Could it be that young black voters may be the swing voters in the election? We've got new data. It shows black voters between 25 and 34 gave nearly equal support to Biden and Trump. That was when Biden was running. Now that Harris is running, will young black voters swing back to her?
See, that's the thing, Stuart. I'm not sure that that's going to be the case. Kamala Harris has an atrocious record. She has locked up a lot of black women whose kids skipped school. It was a truancy issue in the state of California. That's happened. She's kept black folks in prison longer than their actual terms, and that's an issue. And we saw Tulsi Gabbard mentioned that before in the Democratic debate in 2020, which was what really took her out of the Democratic presidential race at that particular point, that particular debate. So there's a lot of issues to expose. I think many Americans don't really know her record. They've not really seen her do much as vice president, ribbon cutting ceremonies and, light talks and that kind of thing. They didn't see her take on very serious issues like the border, which we know before the media tried to lie about it and say that she wasn't the border czar. She was responsible for the border according to Joe Biden. And no one ever refuted that until she ran. Just like no one ever refuted that she was the most liberal senator in the U.S. Senate until she decided to run for president. So we understand what the facts are. History cannot be deleted here.
Right. And what's the sad part is what you're about to see right here. This is going to make you go crazy, y'all. What's crazy is that the more and more that we see this stuff coming out, you just got to think, are you kidding me? That's all you can say. Listen to what she says here.
And when we all sing happy tunes and sing Merry Christmas and wish each other Merry Christmas, these children are not going to have a Merry Christmas. How dare we speak Merry Christmas? How dare we?
She was talking about illegal immigrants' children that were being, deported, but she was just tearing up people like crazy because they were singing Merry Christmas, because they were singing these tunes. And it just blows my mind because I'm thinking, hey, if it's Christmas time, of course people are going to say Merry Christmas. There's nothing wrong with that. Let me know what you think about this in the comments. Like, trust me, all this stuff that's coming out, we definitely need to see. But I just love that we're getting the truth out there. Like, people are actually able to see it. We're reporting to you what's going on. Hopefully you're sharing this. Other people are seeing this, but we definitely want people to see the truth. We don't want people to gaslit, especially on this channel. But check this out, because all this stuff that we keep seeing every day, more and more stuff every day, it blows my mind.
Here's President
how we continuously get more information about how incompetent the Secret Service were. Check this out.
Look at the figure on the roof, folks. Just keep playing it. Let it loop.
Can we bring him up for a couple of minutes?
Now you see him reappear again. Now, if you're watching, remember, the 12 o'clock is off the nose of the stage. Is the guy sitting up there like one of those gas station blow-up things waving? No. Folks, Roe just acknowledged, though, that the locals had already said on the tactical net where they had embeds that they were, quote, working an issue at the 3 o'clock. If you're looking at the 3 o'clock, how the hell do you miss this? This is a cell phone camera. Guy went to school for film stuff. This is not a Zoom high telephoto freaking lens used to film a Marvel movie. It's a cell phone. You can see the guy clear as day. How did they miss this?
Guys, that is the number one question that is being asked now. How in the world did they miss this? If we can see this through a smartphone, one of these things, smartphone, how in the world did the people who were supposed to be looking miss this at the rally? Let me know your thoughts in the comments.
I don't know, brother. I don't know. He said or did they? Folks, this video is stunning. Just keep that still right there. How do you miss that, folks? This is a cell phone camera. It's not even focused. And you can still see a figure moving on the roof. This is completely disregarding the fact that 90 minutes in advance, someone had been notified.
Yep.
Within the tactical elements on the through text and otherwise, that there was a shadowy figure making furtive movements at the site. 90 minutes. What I don't understand, and I say this to people who have reached out to me, and you know who you are, who are still defending this, what is left to defend? You were told 90 minutes out. You were told 60 minutes out. You were told by text. You were told by radios on the tactical net. You were told probably by email, I would guess. The security room failed. The PI team failed. The CSU team failed. The poststanders failed. The shift failed. The DL failed. The locals. Nobody stopped. I don't understand. You're expecting people to believe the implausible because they can't believe the alternative that this much incompetence was displayed on the same day.
That is the hardest thing because a lot of people are saying, isn't it? Aren't you like supposed to be like the best of the best to be on the Secret Service team? Aren't you supposed to be like top tier? Like you know your stuff. You're like the best of the best. And for this to happen as evidently as we're seeing this, a lot of people are saying we can't just see and say that the Secret Service was that bad. There had to have been something else, y'all. And that's where a lot of people are making speculations. You don't want to say it, but everybody's thinking it. You know what I'm thinking.
I mean, look, you've got CS teams that are watching this. That's not the team actually that took them out, but that was a team, but they're right in front of the other team. If a cell phone can, sure enough, a high-powered scope.
A high-powered scope.
I don't know what those are, EOTech or whatever. I mean, how do?
If a scope that on the sniper can see, perfectly, how could they? I mean, this cell phone capturing it, and it'd just be nothing. But the good news is that we continue to have. There's people that are fighting to get the truth out to the American people. There's people that are fighting to make sure that we hold these people accountable. Check this out.
Congressman Michael Waltz is a former Green Beret and commander as a part of the task force to investigate Trump's assassination attempt. So they lied at the hearing. The acting director lied, said they couldn't see this guy. Now there's video of him dancing around the rooftop like a theater actor.
Well, this was after, Jesse, the director, Cheadle, came before our committee and just made an absolute debacle of herself. But yeah, I mean, you could see that from the ground. Half the crowd could see it. And this administration has a real problem throughout the entire thing, from the Defense Department through to the Secret Service, with one word: that's accountability, or the lack thereof. And look, at the end of the day, we've got to see people, the American people have got to see people held accountable and fired, at least suspended. I just talked to a sheriff, and one of his deputies has an accidental discharge of his gun. He's suspended pending further investigation. But the fact that that lead agent is still approving advances, is still approving rallies, is still approving events when they did something so asinine and stupid as leaving that building outside the perimeter, it's mind-blowing. But the other lie, Jesse, in the Senate hearing was the deputy director of the FBI saying, well, there was a social media account in 2019, but we're not so sure if it was tied to the shooter. And then the social media site Gab says, wait a minute, I have an emergency request right here, tying it to the shooter. And it trashed Trump, was all about the progressives, and had a lot of anti-Semitic remarks on it. So The American people at this point don't know what to believe. I commend Speaker Johnson for putting this task force
together. Yeah, I mean, the task force has to bring in these people.
Got a lot of work
Are you going to be subpoenaing this woman who was in charge of this site? She was in charge of the perimeter. She was in charge of not putting counter snipers up. She was the one that declined the drone. And now they're blaming the locals. And she's still doing investigations. She's still on the job. Why are they protecting her?
We should subpoena the entire chain that approved the security plan for this rally, every one of them. We should be in the Secret Service buildings. We should be at the FBI. We should be at DHS. Don't forget that both Mayorkas and the Secret Service spokesperson immediately, the day after, said that Trump was never denied any resources after agents told me that they repeatedly have been. They should be fired as well and subpoenaed before this committee.
Now everyone's getting a little suspicious because everyone's now caught lying, and that's unacceptable. Mike Waltz, thank you so much. And
that is so crazy. We actually got some breaking news that I want to share with you in just a moment, but I want to show you something real quick. So right now, a whistleblower has come out and said that the guy who's now in charge of the Secret Service, the acting director, was the same person that made the cuts to the Secret Service that was supposed to be present at the rally in Butler, Pennsylvania to protect Donald Trump, and that's why they didn't have enough personnel there. So he's the one that called for the cuts of the Secret Service agents, so they had to use local personnel, which are not as trained, not as equipped as the Secret Service. And now this person just got a promotion. And this just came out. This whistleblower just said, I mean, all this is like blowing up on X right now. How in the world could the person who essentially may have caused, was a big part of it, what happened to Trump, being promoted after everything that went down? And you won't believe this. This just broke on True Social, guys. Oh, 1 second. I've got it right here. It just came through on my phone. I'm pushing it over to my, where are you at? I'm pushing it over to my computer. This is crazy, what you're about to see right here. They just released it on True Social. January 6th bombshell. Secret Service got intel on high potential for violence, but didn't tell agents. So during the January 6th, what happened with the riot, I'm not going to call it an insurrection because they weren't trying to take over the government. They didn't even have weapons, so you can't call it something that it's not. That the Secret Service got intel on the high potential for violence, but didn't tell agents. So why in the world did they knew about what was happening, they knew about what could happen, and they held back. They didn't share the intel. It seems like they're doing that a lot when it comes to Trump. When it comes to anything dealing with Trump, that the Secret Service is not doing what they're supposed to be doing in serving the president, in protecting the president, in making sure that things don't get too crazy. I'm very just blown out of my mind right now because this just released just moments ago that there's so much of this that could have been prevented, chat. And yet it wasn't. And it looks so intentional. Does it not? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section. Just want to say thank you to everybody that is watching. Thank you to everybody that has liked the video so far. I appreciate your support. Appreciate all the super chats, guys. Everybody that's a member of the channel, we love and appreciate your support. Everybody that's chatting away, Deanna Scott, John Harvey, Ashley P. We've got Karen Little, Lindy Stoopy. We've got just everybody participating. Geedle, Dooley, just appreciate all your support. But this is where now we're looking at the two candidates. We're looking at Trump and we're looking at Harris. We need to look at their records and we need to look at how they match up against each other. and then who is the real clear winner on who needs to be the next president of the United States.
Kamala Harris's anti-Trump trash talk is starting to catch up to her. The VP has been hitting the campaign trail and daring the former president to compare records on top issues. Donald Trump says, challenge accepted.
In one of the most astoundingly phony moments in her speech last night, Kamala Harris bragged and, quote, "I will proudly put my record against Donald Trump's any day of the week. I will put it against Donald Trump." This got one of the worst records in anywhere. Well, Kamala, let's go. Challenge accepted. Are you ready? On the one hand, you have a radical left puppet candidate who is fake, fake, fake. And on the other hand, you have a president who will fight, fight, fight for America.
And now it seems Kamala is trying to distance herself, not only from her own past, but from Biden's as well. Axios reporting that the VP has thrown Biden's democracy re-election strategy right out the window and is instead focusing on freedom and the future.
Wow.
Harris putting that message to the test at the rally by saying the American people can do better with a president like her.
Donald Trump has openly vowed, if reelected, to be a dictator on day one. That he will weaponize the Department of Justice against his political enemies. The American people deserve better. The American people deserve better. The American people deserve a leader who tells the truth, a leader who does not respond with hostility and anger when confronted with the facts.
Okay, Brian, I'll start with you.
It literally blows my mind how easily they can just lie with a straight face. Chat, sometimes I can't even believe what I'm seeing. It's that crazy.
It seems that Kamala is ditching democracy as a theme that Joe Biden was using for his re-election campaign, that it's not so much about democracy anymore, and in both rallies she never used the word democracy, and instead is using the word freedom in the future, freedom from poverty, freedom from guns, freedom to have an abortion. Threats to democracy don't seem to be the issue for her.
We've been saying that for a long time. In fact, you'd read a lot of these publications saying threat to democracy was not resonating against Trump. Everyone kept bringing it up, but they kept saying it as if they were reading a different study. Also, it causes a lot of people to think it's extreme. If Donald Trump loses, my country's over. If such and such loses, we're never going to be the same. When you say it's a threat to democracy, it's a threat to the foundations of the country. So I actually think this pivot is a little bit more responsible. But the biggest story so far is who Kamala Harris thinks she is.
Yeah. Because
she has totally changed her stance on everything on the fly, but not in person. She's done it through anonymous surrogates in various publications. I mean, when it comes to energy, when it comes to fracking, when it comes to offshore drilling, she actually supported a guaranteed income and a guaranteed job, a guaranteed green job. Obviously, that's not sustainable. That's not possible. She no longer stands by that anymore. She no longer thinks we should get rid of private health care. So if you're Donald Trump, you're saying,
Hey guys, just want to say real quick, Gail Joseph, let's keep it clean in the chat. We don't want to get too crazy, guys. We all, whether you're Democrat or Republican, we all have our opinions, but we're all American at the end of the day. But let's keep it clean, okay?
who am I running against? Her past, the vice president, the attorney general, the DA, the senator? Because I did my studying. Nothing she is talking about is stuff that she's accomplished or wants to accomplish. It's the strangest thing. And my last thought about it is the reason why we're at this place, and it is unprecedented, is because we haven't had a primary to screen it.
Yep.
They haven't went back and forth.
Yep.
Governor Shapiro wasn't sparring with Pritzker, who was sparring with the vice president about this issue to see what emerged. Instead, it's like, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like you to meet the new Kamala Harris. That's the one who's going to be running, not necessarily governing, against the former president.
You know, Jesse, in line with that, it seems that Kamala Harris is taking the core issues of the Republican Party and adopting them. Now, she's no longer for banning fracking. You know, she is now into single-payer health care. She also is not into the mandatory gun buyback. I mean, is the American public that gullible? Or is she not?
Yes, they are. Yes, we are. It's going to be close. And if we had a fair press, this would be a landslide.
Yeah.
Democrats would never win another national election again if we had a fair press. 3 months before the election, this woman comes out and she has a record that says, I want to get rid of ICE, private health care, guns, and then says, actually, I don't believe any of that. And it's like Trump coming out tomorrow and saying, we're not going to do the wall and we're going to raise taxes. What? No. And so the media usually would be curious. Why? What happened here? No. They're scrubbing the internet from this stuff. And then they're censoring pictures of Donald Trump and searches for Donald Trump.
That is true.
And the Democratic Party doesn't even care. The Democratic Party doesn't care what her beliefs were, what she believes now. They don't even know her record. Do you see these interviews of these people that go to the rallies? They don't even know what she's ever done. All they care about is abortion, and she calls Trump a dictator. Hell, let's go ballot harvest. Here we go. Her record is so bad you can't afford rent, you can't afford a house, highest illegals, highest gas. It's a mess. You look at Trump's record, guy's an American hero. You had peace and prosperity.
Yep.
People were like long for the days of 4 years ago, Donald Trump. They were better off 4 years ago. And he just dodged an assassin's bullet. And he survived a prosecutorial misconduct. This should not even be close, but it is because we are so corrupt and stupid as a country.
You know, Dana, doesn't it come down to the 4 years of governance under Trump, and then 4 years of governance under Biden and Harris?
Yeah, so I think that leading up to this sudden change with the Democrats, a lot of people were saying, my gosh, prices were so much more affordable during the Trump administration. If you saw like all these people we would interview and it showed it in the polls, that they were like, I never thought I would vote for a Republican, but I think I might vote for a Republican. I always think about Guy Benson's Uber driver in Milwaukee from a year ago. And she said, she's a black woman. She said, I've voted Democrat all my life. She said, but I can understand that my entire family plans to vote for Trump this next year. And that was a year ago. So then you go forward and all of a sudden everything changes immediately. I do think that Kamala Harris's answers are a little bit like cotton candy and that they would melt on contact if she did any interviews. Okay, so because a lot of the interviews...
Guys, that's what I'm looking forward to hearing. I'm ready to see Trump and Kamala debate. I'm ready to see Kamala actually go through a real interview like how they were doing Biden at the end of before he resigned, because they were hammering Biden with questions, hard questions. We haven't seen nothing from Kamala. All we've seen is her go and just speak. We haven't seen any interviews yet. And she's had one of the craziest agendas and craziest stances. And what's crazy is that when you think about how the media and how people are treating Kamala now, it's not right and it's not fair. But it's like they don't even care. Like that whatever it takes to just get a Democrat in office, that's literally what it feels like. And you know, with what we've seen, to me, I'm skeptical of everything. There's a book that's called Only the Paranoid Survive, and that's how I am. And Shane, you made a good comment. You said, I find it funny that each sniper team on the buildings behind Trump were pointing their weapons towards the building in question before the shots were fired. So where the building was, if where Trump was standing at was 12 o'clock, and they were behind him, they were pointing in the sense that way. So why in the world did they not see what was about to happen? This type of thing, that's why I love that they've got the investigation going on. I love that they're really hammering the Secret Service director, the FBI director, trying to figure out what the heck happened. But what I really hate is that the media has just flip-flopped perfectly for Kamala Harris, and instead of treating her exactly how they should be treating politicians, They're just like, we love Kamala Harris now. She's the best thing ever. She's the future. She's never done anything wrong. And it's sick because if you believe, if you don't even think for, it's like people aren't even thinking for themselves anymore. Like, what is going on?
So if you look at some of the clips, like the Conservative War Room has something on X today, where it's like almost a 4-minute clip of just her being asked questions in the few interviews she's done over the years, but they weren't on Fox. These were interviewers from all sorts of different places asking her about the border, asking her about healthcare or the economy, and they're terrible answers. So if she were to do an answer, and I think her people know, an interview, and I think her people know this is why, which is why she's not doing an interview. She is spending this honeymoon period to define herself, redefine herself. She is the new Kamala. We've had 20 new Kamalas since the beginning of the administration. I think she's very smart to turn and say, my message is about freedom and the future. And she also says we are not going back. And Biden's letting her do that. It's like, because he knows that if she succeeds, he's going to be a hero.
Yes.
If she fails, they will say the cover-up about his health was a huge scandal, and it's on both of them.
All right, Harold. I'm not sure
You
that.
sound like you're mad that you have to come.
No, I love you, Harold. You know that. Okay, but you look. I think they're both searching for messaging. What do you think the message is for each of them?
So good to be with you. Good to be with Brian. One quick thing that I'm so happy that Evan is a part of his family here in this company here. Welcome home to the, I know his family has to be pleased. He's free from the gangsterism of Putin, and it took a lot of work and a lot of effort. I'm sure we'll hear a lot more in the coming days. To this issue here, this is why if I were President Trump, and we talked about this yesterday, I would be eager for a debate with Vice President Harris. Because if all the things, and I don't necessarily agree with all of the things you guys have said about her, I do think that she's offering different positions. I think she might be genuine. I think she's more genuine than you may be giving her credit for. But one thing is for certain, if I was running against her and I believe the things you guys are saying, and I believe as firmly as you do, I'd say, let me have a debate with her. Let me point out for the American people to be the final judges and arbiters, because ultimately it's the voters who are going to make that decision. If we had all the prosperity that you guys say that we had under President Trump, and there's no doubt we had some. I think there were more jobs created in the last 4 years than he created in his 4 years. But these are things that you litigate and you try to acquit yourself in a convincing and persuasive way, an incredible way in front of voters. When you change your mind about something.
Like, even with this guy talking, I'm just like, wow. No way did Biden and them create the jobs that Trump did. You got to take out the pandemic jobs, because those, we lost like 80% of the service workforce within a matter of months because they closed everything down. And then whenever they brought them back, whenever Biden was president, they're trying to attribute that credit to Biden. It's like, dude, you didn't do anything. The jobs were there. Because they closed down the country, that's why they went away. You didn't actually create anything.
Again, I think it's constructive. I think when new facts and circumstances and developments present themselves, what you want in a politician or a leader of any organization is maturity, is seriousness. And workers...
She changed her mind about everything.
But Brian, then Donald Trump should be eager to debate her. He should come to Fox tomorrow.
Though. Yeah, he is.
I understand it, but you can't out of one side of your mouth say, how is it that people can believe her when she has no credibility on these issues? But polling data suggests that this race is a dead heat. So if I were running on the other side, I'd be eager to get her in a setting so I could point to all of the shortcomings, all of the inconsistencies, and what you guys are saying, frankly, all the hypocrisy.
I think it's happening.
It is happening.
I think it's happening September 10th.
But you do agree she's made a 180
for an interview in between that.
Well, but Judge, no one likes to hear this, but there were 180s made by J.D. Vance on President Trump. I believe J.D. made a credible and legitimate 180-degree turn. He had every right to.
He explained it.
And so should she. Right. So if you get her in a debate,
that's not a fundamental policy. Whether you like somebody or you dislike someone. This is about how you believe the future of the country should be on energy, on taxes, on healthcare, on pretty much everything, Harold.
I understand, but if I say to you, Jesse, if I said to you a year ago, I called you terrible names, and I come back and say, I really like him.
This guy, I'm not joking. I don't even know how their brains process what they say, because Jesse Waters was 100% right. There's a difference between you liking somebody and you not liking somebody. There's a big difference between you believing in the Green New Deal or believing that we should just let in all the illegal immigrants, believing that we should defund the police, believing all these different stances. Those are huge policy ideas and stances. And it just blows my mind that we're still like, even with all the information we have now, even with what everybody can see, people still just like, it's like they get gaslit right in front of the face and they don't even care. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I just want to say thank you to everybody that is watching. Thank you to all of our subscribers. If you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing. We want to serve you every day with the top news. And thank you to all of our members of our channel. Thank you to everybody that's given a super chat, a donation to the channel. Like, it means so much to us, guys. I promise you, like when we look at, growing this community, we want to serve you every day with the top news. Monday through Friday, 2 shows a day. On the weekends, we're going to try to do 2, but we're guaranteeing 1 show on Saturday and Sundays. And then just remember, like guys, this, what you do, watching supports us so much. This puts a roof over our head. It feeds my family. It takes care of us. We love our faithful supporters. We love those that are always joining on. Deanna Scott, you're awesome. Linda Brown, Lula Malone. All the support just means so much to us. And it's so cool that we're able to do this. And we just want to continue doing this and continue serving you and bringing you all the great news. Guys, y'all have a wonderful night, and we will see you in the next one.